Okay, let's unpack this. And I want you to be totally honest with me for a second. When I say the words Pride and Prejudice, what is the absolute first thing that flashes in your brain? Be real.
Bonnets.
Bonnets.
Bonnets, right.
Definitely bonnets. I think for about 90% of the population, it's bonnets. Maybe Colin Firth in a wet shirt if you saw the movie, but mostly just homework.
Yes. Homework. It feels like a chore, a dusty hardcover from high school English class.
It gets pigeonholed, you know? It's seen as this quintessential classic romance that you're supposed to respect, but maybe not something you would actually, choose to listen to for fun.
Exactly. It feels like eating your vegetables. But this is where it gets really interesting, and it's why we're talking about it today.
Okay.
We have a stack of notes here based on a really detailed audiobook review, a ThinkIQ style analysis, and it completely flips that whole narrative on its head.
It argues that if you consume this story the right way, specifically through audio, it stops being a dusty artifact and it turns into this incredibly modern, almost savage guide to emotional intelligence.
Okay, a savage guide. I like that. So the source we're digging into, it's not just a plot summary.
Not at all.
It's testing a hypothesis. The review is asking a really specific question. Is this 1813 novel actually a masterclass in, reading people?
Yeah.
And is the audiobook format the cheat code that finally unlocks it for us?
A cheat code for a classic. I love that. Because let's face it, some of these books are hard to crack.
They are.
But the review makes this pretty bold claim right at the start. It says the audiobook format doesn't just make it easier, it elevates the novel significantly.
That's a strong take. Usually the purists say you have to read the text on the page.
Right.
But, when you think about how Jane Austen writes, it makes perfect sense. It's not about big action scenes.
Yep.
It's all dialogue, it's social nuance, it's irony. And the review points out that when you read it on the page, you can miss the tone. You miss the sarcasm.
Oh, that makes so much sense. You read a sentence that seems polite because the words are polite. You see something like, I am charmed by your behavior, and you think, oh, that's nice.
But when you hear it,
Yeah, the review suggests that when you hear it narrated, you suddenly get it. You realize, oh, wait, she just insulted him to his face, and he has no idea.
precisely. The source says the narration, which it describes as elegant and expressive. It brings out that subtle humor. And it differentiates the characters.
Which is a huge hurdle.
A massive one. You're in a drawing room with 6 people talking, and on the page they can all sound the same. The review notes that a good narrator fixes that instantly.
So it does the heavy lifting for you.
It does. But it's more than that. The source mentions that the social tension, the awkward pauses, and the emotional shifts actually become audible.
Audible social tension. I love that detail.
Isn't that great?
It makes it sound less like a textbook and more like you're eavesdropping on a really intense dinner party where everyone secretly hates each other.
That is exactly the vibe. The review argues that listening lets you experience the story emotionally, not just intellectually. The emotional moments feel natural, not dramatic.
So not a soap opera.
Not at all. It's a study of human behavior.
Yes.
So if you're the type of person who wants to absorb information in the most efficient way, the source is basically saying, put down the paperback and put on the headphones.
Okay, so we've established the format, audio is the key. But let's talk about the substance. Because even with a great narrator, if the story's boring, it's boring.
True.
But the review suggests this story is basically a psychological thriller disguised as a romance. Can we set the stage a bit? Who are the players in this game?
So the setup is early 19th century England. And the central dynamic is this amazing clash of titans. On one side, you have Elizabeth Bennet. The source describes her as sharp-minded, independent. She's our eyes and ears, She's the smartest person in every room, watching everyone else and kind of laughing at them.
She sounds like the person you want to sit next to at a boring wedding.
Totally. The one making the snarky comments. And then on the other side, you have Mr. Fitzwilliam Darcy.
Ah, Mr. Darcy.
Wealthy, socially reserved, and let's just say complicated.
Complicated is a very generous word. The review notes that he is proud.
Very proud. He walks into a room and pretty much decides no one there is good enough to talk to.
Ouch.
But here's where the source summary gets interesting. It points out that the story isn't boy meets girl, they fall in love. It starts with mutual dislike.
They can't stand each other.
They actively misunderstand each other. And I think that's why it feels so modern. It's not insta-love, which feels so fake to us now.
We don't buy that anymore.
No. And the review highlights that the transformation into respect and love only happens after, and this is so key, both of them confront their own flaws. They have to fix themselves before they can work together.
It's the anti-fairy tale.
Exactly. And they don't do this work in a vacuum. The supporting cast is brilliant. The source gives a great rundown of them as basically examples of how people fail at social life.
Okay, like who?
You've got Jane Bennet, the optimistic foil. She's almost too nice. She refuses to believe anyone is a bad person.
Which can be a real liability.
A huge one.
Yeah.
Then you have Mrs. Bennet, described as comic yet symbolic of societal pressure.
Oh, Mrs. Bennet, the original helicopter mom. I feel like she's always played as just this shrill, annoying woman.
Right, but the review gives her more credit. It frames her panic as a reaction to her reality.
Which was pretty dire, right?
Absolutely. If her daughters don't marry well, they lose everything when their father dies. The house, their security, everything.
Yeah.
So her annoying behavior is really just terror. She's fighting for their survival.
That puts a totally different spin on it. It's high stakes.
For sure. And then there's Mr. Collins. The review calls him a satire of blind conformity.
Oh, this guy.
He's the guy who just does whatever society tells him to.
Yeah.
Sucks up to rich people, follows the rules, zero independent thought. These aren't just background characters. The review frames them as tools Austen uses to critique human behavior.
Which brings us to the first major theme the source uncovers. And, I mean, it's right there in the title. Pride.
Theme number 1, pride and first impressions. The review states that the core conflict isn't really romance. It's about how quickly we all judge one another.
The source has this great insight. Pride blinds judgment. Let's unpack that. That sounds like something you'd read in a modern psychology book.
It really does. Pride blinds judgment. The review explains that first impressions are often wrong, but our pride makes us double down on them.
We see that with Darcy, right?
Oh, absolutely. Darcy's pride makes him dismiss Elizabeth immediately because her family isn't rich enough. They're kind of embarrassing. He writes her off in 5 seconds.
But Elizabeth isn't innocent here either, is she?
Not at all. And that's the prejudice part. Her reaction to his pride makes her misinterpret everything he does for, like, half the book. She decides he's a villain. And once that switch is flipped in her brain, she filters everything through that lens. If he does something nice, she thinks it's manipulation. If he's quiet, he's being rude. She can't see the truth because she's so attached to being right about him.
And isn't that just painfully relatable? I mean, think about how we operate today. You meet someone, they make one weird comment, and boom, you've written their entire biography in your head.
It happens all the time. And once we make that judgment, we defend it. We don't want to admit we were wrong. That's the real application for you, the listener. The deep dive experience here is watching two very smart people realize they were completely wrong.
They have to overcome those snap judgments to grow. It's a lesson in humility.
Exactly. It forces you to look at your own filter, you know?
So it's a book about checking your ego. But it's not just personal. The review mentions a bigger social critique.
Right.
Which is the second theme. Class, status, and rebellion. In 1813, class wasn't just about money. It was your fundamental worth as a person.
And this is where Austen gets really sharp. The source notes that she's critiquing these rigid class structures. The key insight is that society judges worth by status, not character.
Money equals goodness, a tale as old as time.
Pretty much. If you're rich, you're a gentleman. If you're poor, you're irrelevant. But the review highlights Elizabeth Bennet's role as a rebel. She challenges this. She values intelligence and integrity over wealth.
That phrase stood out to me from the source. Intelligence and integrity. It sounds so basic to us now, but in that world, it was revolutionary.
Really was. The review calls her one of literature's strongest female protagonists because of this. It's kind of quiet rebellion.
Quiet rebellion. Explain that.
Well, she doesn't lead a protest march, but she refuses to be intimidated by the system. Her intelligence and her self-respect are her weapons. She stands up to people far more powerful than her, like Lady Catherine de Bourgh.
Oh, yeah, I remember that scene from the notes. The super rich woman tries to bully her.
And Elizabeth basically just calmly says no. She looks at this powerful person and thinks, "You're acting foolishly, so I'm not going to respect you, regardless of your bank account." That was a radical idea.
That your merit is internal, not external.
Exactly.
And that connects really well to the third theme the source breaks down. Marriage versus independence. We have to remember the stakes we talked about with Mrs. Bennet.
It was survival.
For a woman in that era, marriage was the only career path available.
And that makes a dilemma so tense. The review explores that tension. Marry for security or marry for affection.
And the warning the source gives. Marriage without respect leads to emotional emptiness. That is bleak, but accurate.
A very modern idea. And we see it with Mr. Collins. He proposes to Elizabeth. Now, on paper, this is a great deal for her. Security, a home. He saves her family from being destitute.
Logically, she should say yes. Everyone tells her to.
Exactly. But there's zero intellectual connection. He's insufferable. And the review highlights her refusal to settle as the mark of a progressive character.
She turns him down.
She turns him down flat. She basically says, I would rather be poor and alone forever than married to a man I don't respect.
That takes serious guts. I mean, that's like turning down a guaranteed job with a pension because the boss is annoying, but you have no other prospects.
It is. And that leads to the source's definition of love in this book. It says love here emerges from self-awareness and humility.
Tell me more about that. How does the review define that?
Well, the source argues that real love requires personal growth, not perfection. Darcy doesn't win Elizabeth over just by being rich. In fact, his money and status make him arrogant at first.
Right. They're a liability.
They are. He only wins her after he listens to her criticism.
And her criticism was brutal. She really lets him have it.
It was. But instead of getting defensive, he goes away, he reflects, and he changes. He actually does the work. And she does the same. She realizes she was wrong, that she was blinded by her own prejudice. It's a partnership based on two people becoming better versions of themselves.
So it's not about finding the perfect person. It's about becoming the right person.
That's it, exactly. It's about two incomplete people helping each other become whole.
Which is a much deeper message than, and then they kissed.
So much deeper.
So, okay, let's get practical. For someone listening right now, is this audiobook for them? What's the final verdict from the review?
The source gives it a 5 out of 5 star rating. It calls it a graceful, intelligent listening experience. But, and I really appreciate this, it gives some watch-outs. It manages your expectations.
Yeah, we need to be transparent. What are the red flags? If I download this today, what might trip me up?
Okay, first, the pacing. The review notes it is slow, but it clarifies that the slowness is intentional and reflective.
So not slow because nothing's happening.
Right. It's slow because the action is internal. It's about emotional shifts, not car chases. If you need a plot that moves a mile a minute, this might frustrate you.
Got it. What else?
The language. It can feel formal at first. It takes a chapter or two to, tune your ear to the rhythm of 1813.
It's like Shakespeare. It takes 10 minutes for your brain to adjust.
Exactly. But the review promises, and this goes back to our first point, that the audiobook format makes this much easier than reading the text. A good narrator handles that rhythm for you.
And who is the ideal audience for this?
The source mentions it's perfect for modern listeners new to classics. And interestingly, it says it's great for multitasking listening.
Oh, how so?
Because it's so dialogue heavy, it flows like a conversation. You can listen while you cook or commute, and because the narrator differentiates the voices, you don't get lost. It's dense, but it's digestible.
That's a huge plus. I love a good multitasking listen. Okay, so let's wrap this up. We've gone from dusty homework to a guide on emotional maturity. If we had to summarize the core message from the source, the big bumper sticker, what is it?
The source boils it down to one beautiful sentence. Love grows when pride fades and understanding begins.
Love grows when pride fades. That's powerful. It's not just a love story. It's a guide to being a better human.
It is. It's about dropping the armor. It's about seeing people and yourself honestly, which is hard. It takes vulnerability.
And that leads us to a provocative thought to leave you with. The source focuses so heavily on self-reflection. It suggests that true connection requires confronting your own flaws first. We spend so much time swiping left and right, judging other people's profiles, analyzing their texts.
Right. We analyze the data, but we rarely analyze the analyst.
Exactly. So here's the question for you. In your own life, whether it's dating, friendships, work, and worky, are you looking for the right person? Or are you too busy judging everyone else to do the work on yourself?
That's the question Darcy and Elizabeth had to answer. Maybe we do too.
Something to think about. If you've never given the audiobook a shot, maybe now's the time to plug in and listen to some 19th century sass. It might just change how you see the world.
Thanks for diving in with us.
Always a pleasure.